Whatever path you are on, whatever inspired you to come here today, we honor you and we welcome you. And now, our message.
Okay, let us find our quiet place. Today's invocation is actually written by Frederick and Marianne Broussard. So if you would, just close your eyes and settle in. Listen to these words, allow them to become yours. Compassion is a feeling within ourselves, a quivering of the heart, and it is also a way of acting, being affected by the suffering of others and moving on their behalf. Buddha and Jesus are the most well-known exemplars of compassion, and it is the central ethical virtue in the two religions. The spiritual practice of compassion is often likened to the opening heart. Allow your heart to feel this compassion. Move toward compassion with caring. Expand the circle of compassion to include all creatures, natures, and the inanimate world. And so it is.
And so it is.
And now we will hear from Dr. Pam, and her message is on compassion through the ages.
When I was thinking about today's talk and compassion, when I say compassion through the ages, I mean through our ages, through us as we age and as we go through each phase of our life. And the wonderful news is that compassion is something that we're born with because it really is a survival skill. We need to take care of ourselves and of our own in order to continue on. But it's more than anything a learned skill. So today what I wanted to focus on were some tips and tools that you can use throughout your ages, throughout your life, that will help you to expand in your understanding and your experience of compassion as well. I have some lovely helpers who are passing out a form to you right now. It has a worksheet on one side and it's blank on the other, and I thought you might want to take some notes on the blank side now, and we'll work on the worksheet together towards the end of my talk. So, what is compassion? And Mark's reading was just such a wonderful definition of compassion, but I looked up compassion. Always a good way to start your talk. And this is a little bit of a review from last week, but if you weren't here, compassion is defined as sympathy and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others, together with a desire to alleviate it. So compassion is not just empathy, because empathy is that ability to relate to and feel someone's pain and what they're going through. Compassion has a very important second ingredient added to that, and that is the desire and the ability to step up and do something about it. Compassion is a verb. It's an action word. It's not something that we passively do, like watching TV and crying when we see a horrible world event. Compassion would be taking that one step further and figuring out how we can do something about it. Now, if you read the Science of Mind magazine, this month's whole issue is devoted to compassion. And we have many of our congregates who aren't with us today because they're at the World Religion event in Salt Lake City this weekend. And the Dalai Lama was going to be there talking about compassion. He isn't because he's resting, but there are many other speakers whose main topic will be compassion, because just like Mark's reading said, compassion truly is a spiritual aspect of ourselves. Now, synonyms for action, just so that you can see how it is an action word as well, are things like warmth, love. Like love is something that we give, isn't it? It's something that we do. Tenderness, mercy, tolerance. Tolerance is an action step. Tolerance is something we do. We see something and maybe it is something that's kind of outside the way we would do it, but we have an open heart, an acceptance. That open heart is the very, very beginning step of recognizing that each one of us is a unique being with special gifts who does things in a special and different way. Charity is a synonym for compassion. And charity or volunteer work is certainly action-oriented. So we're going to talk today about different things we can do to put empathy plus action together to develop more compassion in our lives. Now, a question could be, why would I want to develop more compassion in my life? And compassion has an incredible healing aspect to it. Just like meditation or living a life in peace creates positive experiences in your body, so does being a person of compassion. I had an amazing experience this morning. I was telling Mark, it kind of changed the whole direction of my talk. I made a mistake, a boo-boo, an owie. It's so good to kind of view it from tender or more childlike terms so that we can forgive ourselves more readily. But last week when I was going to be speaking the Flames of Faith, I forgot the worksheet. So I show up today and guess what? I forgot it again. Now I'm kind of thinking in the past I would be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I forgot it again. How many of you talk to yourself like that sometimes? You know, that was certainly a stupid thing. I heard a couple of you, one on each side, say I talk to myself like that all the time. Okay, I think that all of us go through periods of our life, and the reason I think of compassion through the ages is because the longer we live and the more experience we have, the easier it becomes to become a compassionate person. And the more experiences that you have of seeing compassion and observing it and experiencing it yourself, the easier it becomes. So I had kind of a transformative experience this morning. I noticed that I didn't say, oh, you did it again. I kind of went, ah, you did it again. A little softer, isn't it? Instead of, oh, you did it again, you know? Compassion, just like charity, starts at home. It starts with us, our family, our friends, our community, and then the whole world. So let's start by talking about compassion to ourselves. So I go up to Mark. Mark and I and Kimmy are the practitioners of the Satya Center. And we have a new practitioner too, which is very, very exciting, and that's Claire Rawl. So we're the 4 practitioners who kind of hold that centered space of peace and healing for ourselves and all of you. And it's just so nice when there's a little mini crisis to recognize how we really are that peaceful centered space. So I go up to Mark, and actually Mark asked me, did you remember the sheet? And I'm like, no. And then and I said, well, I'll go home and get it. Well, home's kind of far, and I'm going to be doing the 10 o'clock meditation. And he goes, Pam, it's all always perfect. We know that, don't we? But do we remember that when we're a little bit stressed? It's really helpful to have somebody who can remind us of that. He said, it's all perfect. So I got in my car and I drive home and I pick up the sheet. And as I'm driving back home, I have this amazing revelation. And that's that I'm not condemning myself. I'm not cursing at myself. I'm not saying, how could you do this? Or I'm not even worried about being late. And then I get back like 10 minutes early, which was almost impossible if I'd stop and think about it. But I'm totally at peace the whole way, and I found myself singing the song, I love myself the way I am. Now, that was an amazing act of compassion, me to me. Because trust me, in the past, I would not have been singing I love myself the way I am after I made a mistake like that. I would have been saying that, how could you do this again? You know, and what I'm realizing is that the longer I've studied science of mind, the longer I've done treatment work, the more peaceful and centered and just able to show up I am. Because Ladies and gentlemen, you are enough. You are precious. You are whole. In fact, as I stand up here, I get to be the lucky one who looks at how beautiful every single one of you is. And we need to be focusing on that quality. Now, when we're little kids, we get it. Does Chloe get it? Hey, come here. Don't overlook me. I mean, was she like the cutest in the world? Yeah. You know, and then and eventually that will get reined in, because we're going to rein her in, aren't we? We're going to rein that in. And then eventually we even begin to develop the biggest fear that human beings have. What's the number one fear that people have? It's public speaking. Does Chloe have a fear of public speaking? It's like, can I have the mic, please? You know, you are precious, you are whole, you are complete and beautiful in every way that you need to be. And every single thing that you need to know or possess, you already have. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. It's time to love ourselves exactly the way we are. So let's look at compassion, and then let's look at how we can become more compassionate. In the Science of Mind magazine this month, it talks about how there's like super compassion, superhero compassion. And superhero compassion, you know, or I was thinking superhero compassion would be like firefighters running into burning buildings and running up 17 flights of stairs to save a baby that they know is up there. That's pretty heroic, isn't it? And it's compassion because it's looking at someone else's needs and putting them before mine. Now, how many of you on a smaller scale do that for your family every day? Raise your hand. You know, how many of you look after your children, look after your spouse, or look after yourself in a tender way every single day that just brings you more comfort and peace? Raise your hand. That's okay. You know, so that's by far the majority of us. The interpreter for the Dalai Lama was saying that the Dalai Lama has to work at being compassionate. He said he's got his bad days. He gets angry. He has his off days. We all do, don't we? The key is to become a little bit more compassionate consistently, so that as we age, as we go through the ages, we find more and more and more of that self-love, love of family, love of friends, love of community within us. And also more tolerance for people around us as well. So I wanted to share some ways that you can increase your compassion. One of the best ways that you can increase anything that you want in your life is to eavesdrop and to plagiarize. Okay, two things that we're probably told not to do too much, but they're transformative qualities in our life. If you can't notice compassion within you, notice it within other people. What would be an example of something that you might notice of compassion happening as you walk through a normal day? Somebody shout one out. An act of kindness. Compassion would be kindness. Extending oneself to somebody. What's something nice you've seen somebody do?
Just walking by somebody and smile at them.
Oh.
Telling them good
That's
morning.
all day, you never know.
Saying good morning and smiling at people. And if you don't feel like smiling and saying good morning to people, guess what? If you make yourself smile and say good morning to people, you will start feeling like it. You will, I guarantee you will start feeling that. A very famous psychologist was working with his patient, and his patient called and was extremely, extremely depressed. This is a true story. The patient was extremely depressed and was on the phone with his shrink. And he said, I just am overwhelmed. I'm so depressed. I'm getting into an anxiety attack with this. He said, I'm just beside myself. And his doctor said, is there anything that you can do for somebody right now? And the guy thought, I said, well, he said, the lady who lives in the apartment next door to me is sick, and it's been real, and she used to keep her patio, or her little door area right in front of the entrance, just spick and span. And he said, it's horribly cluttered with magazines and newspapers and weeds and dirt. He said, it just looks bad. So the shrink said, I'm going to stay on the phone, and what I want you to do is go get a broom and a dustpan and go clean her area right now. So the guy went and did that, and came back, 5 minutes later, 6 minutes later, shrink is still on the phone, and he says, how do you feel now? And the guy says, wow, I feel so much better. How many of you have had an experience like that? You feel down in the dumps, and you go do something nice for somebody else, and whoa, you are alive again. Raise your hand so people can see that. Wow, okay, that is like 99% of you. Is that amazing? So compassion is self-healing, doing things for others. And think of all the sayings we say: treat others as we want to be treated, giving before we get, paying it forward. All of those are really, really wise counsel and so profound. So one thing you can do, I know this is kind of, you might even want to scoot up a little closer if you want to see this, but keep a diary of compassion you see. And keep a diary of one compassionate event that you see every day. Tomorrow it might be that you see somebody picking up cans that are along the freeway. The next day it might be that you saw a young person open a door for an older person. What I guarantee you is that whatever you set your eyes to see, you will see more of. How many of you have noticed that? Like if you're angry, you see more things to make you angry. If you're happy, you see more things to make you happy. If you start your morning every morning with a desire to see more compassion, you will see more compassionate acts. Now, those are small acts that I mentioned. And smiling and saying hello to people is completely transformative. I want to share a small and big act of compassion that I've witnessed that were mind-boggling. Many of you met my sister Anita. She was here with us for 3 months this summer. And Anita and I are very close. So we'll sometimes walk hugging, or and we look just alike, so everybody can tell we're sisters. And it's kind of neat to see two sisters get along as well as we do. So my sister and I went to the pharmacy. And then we went shopping, and we were just about town, and we kind of go places every single day. And a couple of weeks, maybe a month after we'd been to that pharmacy, we went back to pick something else up. And this beautiful young pharmacist walks up to me. She's just exquisite, like this, probably in her early 30s. And she's got a little tear in her eye. She's talking to me, and she said, I'm so glad you're back. She said, I have to talk to you. She said, I saw the way that you and your sister were so tender and so compassionate with each other. And she said, the only thing I could think about is how much I want that with my sister. How I want to be old like you guys are. I didn't like that part, but I liked it. She said, when I'm old like you guys are, she said, I want to have the relationship that you and your sister have. And she explained that she and her sister had been estranged now for many years over a fight about raising their kids. Pretty amazing. She said the fight was brutal, and they haven't talked for years. And she said that she saw us there at the pharmacy. She said she saw us at the Quilted Bear, and she said she saw us at Hallmark, and she said, okay, this is meant to be. She called her sister, and she said, do not hang up. She said, we're resolving this. And she said she and her sister got back together and made a commitment to each other that they were going to love and serve each other throughout the rest of their lives, that they're going to share compassion with each other. The thing that was amazing is that she's telling me the story while I'm in the pharmacy there the second time. And she said that when she saw my sister and me, all my sister and I did was walk into the pharmacy. Just like we weren't even like Chloe, we just walked in, Probably not too noticeable, right? Just two women walking in. And she said she took one look at us and she got how much we loved each other and how compassionate we were to each other. And she said she had to go into the back room and she sobbed for 30 minutes. And the other pharmacists and aides who were working with her were going, yeah, they said they had to go back and console her. You transform people's lives. I was lucky enough to hear that we did that. How many times a day, a week, a month, a year, do you, just through the way you interact with the cashier at Fresh Market, or how you say hi to somebody as you're passing the street, or how as you open the door for someone, how many times a year do you change the lives of someone? Nothing special about me or my story. What's special is she got to tell me. And then I get to have that wow moment, and I want to be more of that person for more people. As you walk through your day, you share your love with the world, with people who don't even know you. It's an amazing phenomenon. How many of you have ever had an experience similar to what I just said, where, yep, a lot, whoa. So I'm speaking to the choir, yeah? It's an amazing thing. We, through being compassionate and kind, just in our little tiny circle, ripple out to the world. For heroic compassion that I witnessed, we see it all the time on the news. We see it all the time when there's a natural disaster. The people who just go through major sacrifices to make other people comfortable, to rescue, to save. I saw a true God moment in my life. And that was when I was a young adult. I delivered mail. And I carried it back in the day. Remember when mailmen used to carry it on a big pack on their satchel? And then I had a truck that would come and fill it up again at certain points. And when the truck came to bring me mail, I was walking on this side of the street, and he should have been driving on that side, but he pulled over so that on the illegal side of the street, so he'd be like where I was, closer, to give me more mail. And as he did, we heard this huge crunch, and he had run over a little girl and who was on a bicycle. And he jumped out of the truck, and I ran over, and the tire of his truck is on the little girl's tummy, just pushing down her, and she's just screaming for help. Well, her mom, who's this young woman, I don't know, she's a Buddha woman. This young woman comes running out of the house, baby, and she throws herself down on the ground, and she says, baby, you're going to be fine, She's rubbing the baby's head, and she says to the man, she says to the man who's obviously the driver, she said, you're forgiven. But she said, you have to drive your truck off my baby. And he said, I can't. If I do, I'm going to run over her again. And she said, you have to. She just made that definitive decision. And so he drove the car off of her. 911 was called. The woman was taking care of her baby, but she was also taking care of the man who ran over the baby. She came over and she hugged him and she kissed him on the cheek, and she said, you're forgiven. I know this is an accident. And she said, my baby's going to be fine. And she said a quick prayer. And oh my gosh, everybody who was there, because now the block is out, we were just sobbing. It was just about the baby, but also about this wonderful woman, this phenomenal woman. So a couple of weeks later, this guy who was so traumatized he'd quit his job. He was like, he's never going to drive again. He's so traumatized. He calls me and he says, we have to go see that lady, and I can't go alone. You have to come with me. So we went to her house and we knocked on the door. And she came to the door and she opened it. And she grabbed this man. And she gave him a hug that just lasted for probably longer than most of us even hug a best friend when we bump into them. She loved him. She cared for him. She said, thank you so much for coming to see me, and I can tell you that my little girl is still in the hospital, but she's going to be okay. And she said, God loves you and you are forgiven. And she just, is that compassion? That is just touched my heart and changed me forever. That's why if you walk through your life just keeping a diary of one compassionate event a day, I guarantee that it won't mean that you're going to see car accidents, but what it will mean is that you will start to see heroic compassion, and you will start to see everyday compassion everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. It will make you want to be more compassionate, to be the one who raises your hand to help people, to be the one who wants to step in and volunteer and help. You will be the benefactor of that. One of the myths that's in this month's Science and Mind, the article of that talks a lot about the Dalai Lama, is that compassion is not popular because we are such a hedonistic, man for man, I'm just for myself, society. And that is so not true. That's a myth. And if you start looking for compassion, I guarantee that you will see it everywhere. You will see it everywhere. The other thing to keep, that this is really a formula for you becoming a compassionate person. So one is to notice compassion. Notice compassion. The second step is to give gratitude. And I hope that every time I stand up here, I have the opportunity to talk about this. And a great way to do that is in the same journal where you list a compassionate act you saw each day. And this will literally just take you 30 seconds to do, because there's compassion and gratitude everywhere you look once you train your eye to spot it. So instead of looking for the problems, we look at the good. Instead of looking at how hard something is, we look at the benefit of doing it. Instead of looking at, oh my gosh, she's late and judging her, we say, I'm so happy she's here. It's just this little teeny tiny flip switch. It's just as tiny as can be. So give gratitude a chance, I should say. Give gratitude a chance by noticing it. And the best way to notice it is to list 3 things you're grateful for every day. And the assignment goes beyond that. Every single day, there's probably 100 or more things that you can, way more than that you could be grateful for. But if you can walk through your day with your eye looking for things to be grateful for, what do you think you're going to see?
Things to be grateful for.
More things to be grateful for. You're going to be bummed that I'm telling you to limit yourself to writing down 3, because you're going to see dozens of things. I guarantee it, every single day that you're grateful for. I would love for us to get together one day and just watch this movie called Happy. This movie called Happy starts off with this man saying, come see my house. He goes, come see my house. I have the most beautiful house and I want you to share it and come see it. So the camera follows him and he brings you to his house. And you walk into a cardboard and what's that real flimsy metal? You know, like an aluminum and cardboard house. He goes, look at the space I have, and it's about as big as half this up front. And he goes, it's just perfect for me and my family. And he said, and it's perfect for us year round, except for when it rains. He said, when it rains, it leaks. But he goes, I'm so happy here, and I love my family. How many of you have more than he does? How many of you stay dry when it rains? Even if you don't stay dry when it rains, there's so much to be grateful for, isn't there? Living in this country, having opportunities for expansion and growth and joy and learning about appreciating life. I mean, we have so much. So be looking for that gratitude. And then I want to teach you sorry, a little bit. I'm going to teach this quickly. I want to teach you a wonderful tool that's on the other side of your sheet. You can look at that now. This is a tool that you can use to transform your subconscious mind to become a truly happy person. Is that cool? I'm a psychotherapist by training and by profession and a cognitive therapist. And this is a fabulous cognitive therapy tool. And the way that this works is it's a great exercise to do at night before you go to bed. And what you do is I might change the words around a little bit because this sheet that I found uses words a little bit different than mine. Can I borrow one? Sorry. Oh, here's an extra. I found an extra. Thank you. So this is a compassion-focused thought balancing exercise. When you're not being compassionate, when you're not being understanding, I guarantee you it's your thinking. Because it's our thinking that creates our mood. Science of Mind's favorite saying is, change your thinking. How's that end?
Change your life.
Change your thinking, change your life. Cognitive therapy has a saying too. And its saying is, change your thinking, change your life. And I was a student of cognitive therapy when I bumped into religious science. And when I walked in, I was like, whoa, hey, They're talking about the same stuff we're learning in psychology, because everything is one, isn't it? Psychology, sociology, religion, all of it is all one. So what you do with this is you write down in the first column, and you don't need a worksheet. You can just do this on a piece of paper like I have up here. You write down the trigger, something that happened that day. I would say something that happened that day that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. Who can think of an example of maybe somebody that maybe you got mad? How about you got mad at the checker because they were so slow? That happened to me yesterday almost. I had to talk to myself while I was in line and not get too angry. So the checker at Costco, and checker at Costco, if you're watching this on video, it's you, was very slow. And in this second column, you would list what you did that was probably self-defeating. They worded here unhelpful, distressing thoughts. I would add thoughts or actions. So I thought, man, he was slow. Man, he's slow. I mean, I really emphasized it. The reality is he was being very social and very compassionate to the woman in line in front of me. My thought wasn't that at first. My first thought was, man, he's slow. He's taken so much time. What else might you think about that slow checker?
I don't.
I even started to think he's flirting. What might you think?
I might think that he's doing something and he's taking really slow time.
Yeah, he's just too slow. And I put down, he's flirting. I thought he's flirting with her. Well, no, he was just being compassionate and nice. You could even say something angry, couldn't you, if you're in a bad enough mood? How many of you have ever done that to a person who's working that is trying to help you? I hear
My mom
all the time. So kind of like, I was rude. On this side, the third column, what you're going to do is it says a helpful, kind thought. Try to create a warm tone, is what the worksheet says. So what you're going to do in that space is you're going to write down how you would handle it if you handled it perfectly. Okay? So I would say, I noticed he was compassionate. And I smiled and took 3 breaths. Deep. That's an example. There's hundreds of different ways we could handle it, aren't there?
Yeah, last year I intended to be more kind, more patient. But I didn't give me an opportunity to experience kindness.
This will help you to be more kind, to be more patient, to be more happy, healthy, less depressed, and more compassionate. This one tool, I guarantee you that this will change everything. So in your journal, you write down something that you noticed that you were that was compassionate. You write down 3 things you're grateful for, and you write down something that you did or said that didn't go right. You might have a day that's perfect, so you may not write anything down. But if you had a day where something happened that you're not pleased with, you write down what happened, and then you write down a new script. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you close your eyes and you envision it. So join me in our meditation for completing our talk today. Just close your eyes and take a deep, wonderful breath, a relaxing breath. And breathe in the peace and the compassion and the joy of the world, and just let go of all your worries and struggles. Just feel everything slipping away. And breathe in the scene. And you are standing in Costco, and man, oh man, is that guy slow. Woo, baby. And notice that the first thought that you have is, wow, he's slow. And then say, you know what? That's not what I choose. What I choose is to be a person of compassion, of kindness, of generosity and sensitivity. I am the voice of compassion. I am the face of compassion and the word of compassion. And I notice in this moment now that he is giving exemplary service. In fact, he's being kind and demonstrating compassion that I can notice with the person he's with. He's in the now. He's in the moment. And I breathe. I see myself breathing deeply, calmly. For breath, I know, always brings me back to that centered place. And I breathe the joy, I smile, and I recognize being in the moment and the bliss that's there. I notice how attractive the cashier is. I notice how much fun I've had at Costco, and I just give thanks for all of it. And I say, thank you, God. I know that I am a compassionate person. And release that vision, and open your eyes, and put your head on your pillow, and go to sleep. Yeah. And that's how you end each night. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Also,
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today and being a part of the Satya Center. You're invited to join Reverend Allie and Reverend Lyle each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for your dose of connection, inspiration, and co-creation. The Satya Center is located at 795 24th Street, Ogden, Utah. For directions, a map, and our service times, please see our website, thesatyacenter.org. This program was brought to you by the kind donations from the members of the Satya Center. Thank you.